veggies grown right here in the US of A. Tariffs ain't touching them, and yet that lettuce is 40% more expensive than last year. Wonder why? Yeah, because of Biden inflation. No, Randy, because everything used to grow that lettuce has gone up at least 10% or more. But it's made in America. Sure, grown here, but start peeling back the layers, genius. What layers? It's lettuce, not an onion. Fertilizer? Mostly imported, 10% more. We got cows. Can we just use poop? Not on 5,000-acre commercial farms. Irrigation systems? Parts from Mexico? Plastics from Asia. But we've got water. Yeah. Hand pumps, valves, drip lines, all globally sourced, all hit with cost spikes. The farmers are American, though. More like migrant labor on H-2A visas. But sure, Randy, let's give Uncle Sam credit. Well, at least it's packed here. In trays made from petroleum-based plastics we don't even refine here anymore. Guess where those prices went? I don't know. Up? Bingo. Add in diesel costs, truck tires, cold storage fees, all imports or tied to global markets. But it's still local. Local doesn't mean immune, Randy. Everything that touches that lettuce before you eat it costs more because inputs cost more. So what, we just stop growing stuff? No. We stop pretending made in America means immune to tariffs when it's built on a web of imported stuff. Well, I still feel better buying American, and that's the scam. They sell you national pride while outsourcing everything underneath. At least I ain't buying nothing made in China. Yeah, except your MAGA hat, which literally is. It's just a hat. Exactly. So don't lecture me about buying American when even your orange messiah doesn't do it.
I own Dry Range Farm in Madison County in western North Carolina. It'll affect us on everything from fertilizer to construction materials to tractors, new equipment, but not just new equipment, like tractor parts. All farmers do their own maintenance on their equipment.
My name is Peter Andrews. I'm the founder of Culture Wine Company, an importer, wholesaler, and focused on South African wine. Right now, I have a container that's leaving South Africa. That alone will probably be tariffed just because I missed it by about a 7-hour window to get it out.
Hi, my name is Sunny Kim. I own and manage American Made Apparel, which is a Denver-based cut and sew factory. I would say tariffs, for the most part, have been, for me, in the immediate realm, more detrimental because I source a lot of my materials, threads, and notions from China. There's a lot more inquiries and possibly I could get more business from it, but for now, I'm especially seeing a downturn as far as profit margin because my costs have gone up as well.
I'm Chris Pence, and I'm the co-founder and president of Hand Ceramics in Burlington, North Carolina. We work with a handful of restaurants and hotels in Canada currently, or have been. Unfortunately, the Canadian business that we have has completely gone away, and the Canadian companies that we've been working with for many years are no longer interested in buying our products solely because we're an American company.
A lot of our markets have been impacted by cuts to USDA grants that used to allow farmers to sell to local institutions, hospitals, schools. They used to incentivize those institutions to buy locally. And so it's been 4 months of just one thing after the other.
I do feel like it's going to cause us to get more inquiries that potentially will land bigger accounts in the future. They do affect my costs initially, but I'm hoping that in the long run, people will realize keeping manufacturing in the U.S. will actually be a better thing for the long run and also for them to be able to offer an American-made line.
I want the wines to be fairly priced to consumers in the end. And so what will happen is farmers will take a hit, producers will take a hit, I will take a hit, and then, consumers will see higher prices.
These are supply chains that take many, many years to create relationships. These are people's jobs. Some of the impacts for us have been that we've had to reduce some of our workforce, and these are people who worked for me for many years, and these are real life impacts. These are real impacts to me, to my family, and to my community that I feel need to be really considered when making these kinds of sweeping changes.
If you click on this comment, it'll take you back to a video that I did on yesterday where I was talking about how I had all of this extra money in my account, and I realized it's because I hadn't been shopping at Target like I usually do. In the video, I mentioned that when Target announced that they were rolling back their DEI program back in January, I made one trip, and that one trip was to get a much-needed item that I like from a Black-owned business. And full transparency, when I thought more on it, I do believe I made one additional trip a little while after that. I can't remember if it was the end of January or if it was in February, but I did go back one other time to check out the Black History Month selection. So it was either the end of January and somewhere in the first or second week of February. I bought one t-shirt and I bought one sweatshirt, right? I hadn't been back into Target since. And so that explains why I've got all of this extra money in my account. In addition to that, she mentions Amazon. Now, I shopped at Amazon just as much as I shopped at Target, right? And I haven't completely stopped shopping on Amazon, but the way I used to shop on Amazon, no, I have not been doing that. I cut way back. I still have my Amazon Prime account because I use mostly my Amazon Prime account for Prime Video. I'm a homebody, so I'm always looking for something to watch on TV. And if you follow me, you know I'm always sharing some movie, some documentary, some series, right? So yeah, I still have my Amazon Prime for that reason. But yeah, I cut way back spending even on Amazon. That explains why I have got so much money left in my account. And all I've got to say is, love Cruze, here I come.
Breaking news that's about to shake every young girl across America to her core. Temu, Shein, don't care. They're all done for. Mr. Trump just shut down a sneaky little loophole that allowed ultra cheap goods from China skip out on tariffs, which Shein and Temu have definitely been taking full advantage of. This loophole, called the de minimis exemption, allowed packages under $800 to enter the U.S. duty-free, which Shein and Temu have most definitely been taking advantage of. The good news is that these super environmentally unfriendly, questionably made, underpaid labor-powered companies are finally getting checked. The U.S. government will now actually collect proper tariff revenue from their endless stream of cheap goods. That's more money in federal pockets and less freebies for massive e-retailers in foreign countries. The bad news for the ladies is that you're not going to be able to order those $5 hauls of crop tops any longer. The prices will go up and the shipping will take longer. All for what? You to get this crappy piece of cloth that was sewed together by a 5-year-old? I'm hating on it, but I lived off of that at college. Starting May 2nd, these shipments of clothes under $800 coming from China will no longer be exempt from tariffs. Why does this matter? Why not let them continue to do what they do best, rip people off? Well, because these loopholes crushed American businesses. Forever 21 shut down most of their stores and partially blamed Shein and Temu for it. There's some pros, there's some cons, but for this specific instance, I'm not minding the tariffs. Bye-bye, Shein.
I think a lot of you guys are about to find out exactly how replaceable the United States is, because arguably the only American export that cannot actually be replaced by another country, technically, is American culture via American media, and that's already been happening. As someone who works in the film industry, or worked, because at this rate, I don't know that I ever will again, the film industry moving overseas is a harbinger for what is to come, and not necessarily in the sense of like, oh, they're moving the jobs overseas. No. This is a lot bigger than that. So despite what you may think, and despite the metrics saying that it's crude oil, I would argue that media and entertainment is actually America's biggest export. The global media and entertainment industry is worth around $2.8 trillion. This doesn't just include movies, it's also TV, broadcasting, radio, books, video games, all sorts of stuff. But the US, while it's not a leader in all of these sectors, it is definitely a leader in film and TV and advertising. And in total, the US's share of the media and entertainment industry is around $649 billion. Thing is, the media and entertainment industry isn't just good for the US because it brings in a lot of money, it's also doing a lot of the heavy lifting for how the US is able to maintain its power globally. Because if you provide the entertainment for people, then you control the message. It helps to export and normalize this whole narrative about the American dream, the American way of life, the American culture, and it helps maintain the illusion of America. And as a result, people want more of it, right? So American media helps propagate this idea of America, which makes America quite fascinating. It's essentially like this self-fulfilling cycle. And belief in the US ultimately sustains everything that it has going on for itself. Because again, the US doesn't create anything that another country can't create. Even the big, like, innovative ideas, right? 2/3 of Silicon Valley is foreign. As you may know, the film industry has had a rough few years. But now in the film industry, a lot of jobs are going overseas. US production was down 40% in the second quarter of 2024 compared to its 2022 peak. But it was only down 20% in the rest of the world. Netflix and Amazon account for 53% of original streaming content production. And around 70% of those shows and movies are non-US productions. They've also been reducing English content acquisitions while increasing non-English content acquisitions. In part, yes, it's because labor and costs are higher in the US than elsewhere, and soon about to be much higher. But the bigger issue is that they're realizing that media doesn't have to be American anymore. It's only going to get worse now that no one likes America, and we've shattered the whole American dream illusion. Turns out, just about everyone else in the world is pretty good at ingesting media that was not created in their country or culture, because they've always done it, while Americans are pretty bad at it. And this is in large part a result of the US exporting so much media. I grew up in Spain, and most of the media we consumed was American media. As a result, I and many other people in Spain are very, very comfortable watching things that are dubbed and subtitled. Most countries, you dub or subtitle something. In the US, you make a US version remake. The one benefit the US always had with Hollywood and entertainment and whatnot is that American culture thing. And now with shows like Casa de Papel or Money Heist and Squid Game, companies like Netflix are figuring out that they can make very, very successful shows that are not American media. And the rest of the world will eat it up. This is not just about jobs lost. The real issue is that the US's power entirely comes from its ability to create a need for itself. Just like with the military, right? They whine about over-reliance on the US military. That's by design. We made it so that other countries would rely on us for something because the reliance is our power. Same with the dollar standard. It is artificial need and exported desire. And that makes everything else possible. It's why people invest in America. It's why smart and talented people move to America. It's why people buy American products. The only irreplaceable part of America is the illusion that we have shattered.
We have some breaking news right now. Amazon has begun canceling orders from China and other Asian countries, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of purchase orders. This is in response to Donald Trump's tariffs, which means prices will go up because the shortages of these products will increase in the United States. According to Bloomberg, the orders for beach chairs, scooters, air conditioners, and other merchandise from multiple Amazon vendors were halted after Donald Trump's April 2nd tariffs announcement. Many vendors believe this is in response to the tariffs. One vendor had been selling beach chairs made in China to Amazon for more than a decade, received an email saying, you know what, not to ship them anymore. $500,000 worth of beach chairs were nixed after the chairs had already been manufactured, leaving the person on the hook to pay the factory and find other buyers. If Amazon is canceling orders, I'm sure more companies will soon too, which means that there will be shortages in America for a number of items, which means cost will go up on these items. Full breakdown of what this all means on my Substack, link to my bio, so be sure to subscribe for free and follow along for all the news you need to know about.
Breaking financial news, the tariff war escalates. After President Trump raised the tariffs on China to 104%, China announced they're raising their tariffs on America to 84%. In response, Amazon has ceased imports from China. So if you ordered something on Amazon and it's coming from China, you might want to check the little order thing to see if it got canceled. I got a feeling this is going to affect sites like Temu and Shein. Aren't they in China? I hear the ladies love them. I'm not really too familiar, but the ladies might be devastated if they can't use Temu and Shein. So we'll see how it goes.
Of course, any type of good news could just, the markets could do a 180.
there could be Trump announces, we're dropping the tariffs, we're going to negotiate, but, something, whatever. The markets would go ballistic if that happened, but you can't really put that in a chart, right? You can't say that the chart behind me, you can't, Trump. We got to figure out some type of way to put Trump in the chart. But anyways, anyway.
There's not going to be a swimming pool, you stupid slut. There won't even be a house.
America, people are crying right now. The tariffs are affecting small businesses. They're affecting people, common people who are working 9 to 5 jobs, paycheck to paycheck. These are the people who are going to suffer. Tariffs are not good for a common citizen who is not able to afford, those millions of dollars, those millions and millions, in the categories of millionaires and billionaires. Those are the ones who are going to survive in this turbulent time, this uncertainty time where trade wars is happening across America and the whole world. They say when America catches a cold, the whole world experiences flu. And that is the reality of what's happening right now. Countries are retaliating left, right, and center. America, they are saying, oh, we are going to charge you this amount of tariff, while Britain is saying, Canada is saying, or Europe is saying, we are going to add this amount, while China is saying, we are going to add this. Canada, Mexico, they're all adding tariffs. So who's going to be a winner? We don't know. But I do know one thing: the people who are going to be affected is the common citizen who is living 9 to 5 job, paycheck to paycheck. Those are the people who are going to suffer. Small business people who are trying, to become financially independent, those are people who are going to suffer because they cannot afford the extra tariffs. They cannot afford the extra dollar which they're going to be charged. Oh, did you know some of your products, some of your favorite products, or some of your favorite brands, or some of your favorite services, you're not be able to afford, or you're not be able to find them in the supermarket? Why? Because, well, they're no longer being supplied. Why? Because they're expensive. Companies have shut down. Businesses have closed down. But they cannot afford the extra cost. That is what is going to happen. So America right now, most of people, they have gone to the supermarket. They have literally, stockpiled a lot of their stuff, their favorite brands, from toothpaste, tissue paper, which are being made from China. They have stockpiled them for to store them in their own house for the next 6 months or even 1 year down the line. Why? Because they cannot afford the extra cost. They don't want to go to the supermarket and be told, oh, when you want to buy maybe juice, or maybe you want to buy eggs, or maybe you want to buy a certain product, you're supposed to pay 3 or 4, even 10 times of what you normally used to pay. That's what is happening right now. Farmers, they're losing their farms. Why? Because they are not able to afford. They're no longer able to get workers. They're not able to get subsidies. That's why they're closing down farms. People are losing their houses. Why? Because there are no mortgages. They cannot afford mortgages because of this extra tariff, this extra cost. All these things, the extra cost, the tariffs, it's going to be, trickle down to the common customer. You and I who are going to the supermarket, you and I who are going to do our normal activities, those are the ones who are going to suffer. Millionaires and billionaires, they can afford the extra cost. They can afford the extra 1,000 here and there. They can afford it for the next 4 years. But what about the common citizen? The next 4 years, 5 years is going to be painful. By the end of the day, this is the result of voting the way you did. This is the result, the consequences. They always say every action has an equal reaction to it. So guys, buckle up. It's painful, yes. You want to make America great. This is their process. But the reality is, for the next 4 years, doesn't mean all the manufacturers come to America. It doesn't work that way because it's a long way to go. But if the next presidency or the next administration insists on following the same policy, then maybe America will have 100% on manufacturing in America for the next 10 years down the line. But as for now, this is pain that everybody has to undergo. Who's going to be a winner? We don't know. But the people who are going to suffer for a reality is the common citizen. So the tariffs are here, back and forth between China and America, and of course other parts of the world. So China is charging America how much? 84%, while America is charging China 104% tariffs. Who's gonna pay? Of course it's the consumer. And who is the consumer? It's you and I who are going to the supermarket to buy products or services. Is it gonna be expensive? Of course it's damn expensive. Is it gonna cost you extra dollars? Of course it's gonna cost you extra dollar. Are there gonna be shortages? Of course they're gonna be shortages. Why? Because let's call a spoon or a big spoon. Some companies will be able to absorb the extra tariff and pass the extra cost to the consumer, but other companies, they might not be able to afford the extra tariff. What will happen? Business will close. What will happen? There will be shortages of some certain products in the supermarket. You go looking for your favorite brand, you realize, oh, it's no longer available. Why? Because it was being made in China. And here in America, you've put 104% tariffs, and of course, the business has closed down. So basically, that's what's going to happen in the couple of months coming down, unless, of course, the government and of America and China decide to sit down and come up with new tariffs that are going to be friendly to the consumer for both countries. They say FAFO season continue, and this is FAFO season continue. You know, when it comes to trade wars, yeah, the people who are going to suffer, to be honest, it's not just it's not between two countries. It's about the common citizen, the common person who lives pay to check, the common worker who goes to the office 9 to 5 and of course goes back home and of course take care of his family. Those are the people who are going to suffer. For the billionaires and the millionaires, of course, those ones are going to have it easier, because why? They can afford the amount of money that they're charging, the extra dollars. They can afford it because they have the money. But you, the person who's living paycheck to paycheck, those are the ones who are going to suffer. Those are the people who are going to suffer. So you've seen people losing businesses. Yes, as we speak, most businesses, especially small businesses, they're wondering how they're going to be able to afford those extra costs, the extra tariff. Some have decided to abandon their products in China manufacturing because they cannot afford the extra cost. Some have decided to close down the shop. Some have decided, you know, to pass the extra cost to the customers. This is what it calls FAFO season continue. You have seen farmers losing their farms. Why? Because of the subsidies being done away by the new policies in the country, and people are complaining, people are crying, and you are told you didn't listen, and this is FAFO season continuing. The repercussion, they always say actions have a repercussion. You should be ready for any action you take, and these are the repercussions. Some people are saying, oh, we should be okay with the pain for now, so that we can enjoy the fruits of our labor in the future. They are saying, oh, it's okay, we want to make American goods, but the truth of the matter is 100% American goods, it's not going to happen in the next 4 years down the line. Companies have moved away from America. American goods, the ones which are being made in America, usually they take some parts here and there from different parts of the country, and then they assemble it in America. That is the reality. But for it to be done like 100% goods which are being made in America, it's not possible, because there are certain things which are not grown in America. There are certain things which are not found in America. So you need to source them in other parts of the world. That's the reason why they say trade is a global village. It's not just your country where you say, oh, I'm self-sufficient. It doesn't happen that way anymore. That's the reason why you have tentacles across the world, because you source materials from maybe Africa, you source some materials maybe in China, you source some material maybe in Europe, you source some material maybe in Canada or in Mexico. That's how trade operates. And then you get the material, then you come to your country, maybe you assemble it, or maybe you mix it with other products, then now you create the final product, which now you say made in your own country name. That's how people do it nowadays. So when you say American made, believe you me, there's some things you cannot get in America, and that is the reality. So this trade war, who is going to be a winner? My opinion, no one is going to be a winner. The people who are going to feel the pinch are the common citizen, who is you and I, who are going to the supermarket to buy products, who are living pay to check, who are working 9 to 5 jobs. Those are the ones who are going to suffer. As for in terms of the millionaires and billionaires, well, they're going to recover, because at the end of the day, they have millions and millions of dollars. That's the reason they're called millionaires and billionaires. They're going to suffer some losses here and there, but at the end of the day, they're not going to feel the pinch as compared to the common citizen who is earning 9 to 5, who is earning a job where they're going to 9 to 5 jobs where they're getting paycheck to paycheck. Those are the ones who are going to suffer, because they cannot afford to be told, oh, you need to add here $1 here or $100 here or $2,000 there. They cannot afford those extra costs. They cannot afford. That's the reason why some people say, oh, they're going to lose their houses. Some people say they're going to lose their farms. Some people say, I'm going to close down my business because I cannot afford these extra charges. That's the reason they say, please, when you're coming to vote, please know who you're voting for. When they say you're voting, please do your research. When they say who you're voting, vote for someone who has your best interests at heart. And this is FAFO season. The pain is there. So, but buckle up. For the next 4 years, this is the pain. This is the pain that you chose. And yes, America, the world is watching you, what you guys are going through. It's like a movie. You know, 1 minute you're waking up, you're wondering, oh, what's gonna happen next, or what kind of news you're going to get, what kind of breaking news we're going to get. And this is what is happening right now. America is catching a flu, so the whole world is catching a cold right now. Everybody's sneezing. Why? Because of these tariffs, left, right, and center. This outrageous tariff that are affecting everybody in the world. So who's gonna be a winner? Nobody knows. So let me know what you think.